I think I know, like one thing that really gets me caught up is that thing, like if somebody dies and who the title goes to. I think I get caught up on that one.
You mean between, okay, so if you and I own the property together, what's the deal? Most likely, how will we own this property?
If me and you own a joint, that would
Most
be,
likely right now.
would that be joint tenancy?
We could, but probably, right, we just met because joint tenancy, we're joined to the hip. And when I die, my share goes to you.
With joint tenancy.
Yes, so probably this will be better for us to review your question. So joint tenancy makes sense when it is siblings. Not saying that we couldn't be joint tenants, right? This is where, just for it to make sense, with siblings, or you're dating the person, you're not married. That's joint tenancy. Siblings as well. So when it's siblings, it makes sense, joint tenancy, because you and your siblings, when one of you is no longer alive, their share goes to the surviving people.
Okay.
It has right of survivorship. The other thing that joint tenancy has is that everything is equal. So two people, 50-50.
Okay.
The other thing about joint tenancy, it has PIT, possession, interest, time, title.
Okay.
So those are the three major points for joint tenancy. One, it's equal. Two, when one person is no longer here, it has right of survivorship, meaning the other person gets the person who died's share. And then the third one is that it has PIT, possession, interest, time, and title.
Okay.
Now let's go to tenants in common. Tenants in common, that's what probably you and I will have if we bought a property together.
Okay.
Why? Probably is because the shares don't have to be equal. You might have 75% in it because you put more money, and then I have 25%.
Okay.
In tenants in common, when I die, and now I am no longer in the picture, my 25% goes to my family.
Okay.
Okay. So tenants in common, when I'm no longer here, my share goes to my people according to my will or according to who's related to me.
Okay.
And the second thing about tenants in common was what? It's not equal.
Not equal. Okay.
When you're married, you get tenants by the entirety. When you're by yourself, you get ownership in severalty. You're by yourself.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other one you mentioned was the meets and bounds, right? I wrote that down.
Yes.
Okay. So with meets and bounds, so let me probably start at the beginning. There are three methods to determine where your property starts, how far it goes, and where it ends.
Okay.
Those three methods are meets and bounds, the rectangular or government survey, and then you have the lot and block, which is going to use a plat.
Okay.
When we go to meets and bounds, so I'm looking for my slides for the visual cues. When we go to meets and bounds, 3 or 4 things are covered under meets and bounds. One, it's the oldest method to determine where your property starts, how far it goes. That was
Okay.
there even before Congress was in place. So this is where a picture back in the day, probably even before there were compasses, you're using your feet, you're estimating, it's going all the way to the trees and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the compass is now around, you're being told go this many degrees to the right, to the east, this many degrees to the west, how much time, and so on. So that's meets and bounds. However, with meets and bounds, it has to have a starting point. That's your point of beginning.
Okay.
And where you start is where you end. So visualize the room that you're in right now.
Okay.
There's probably a door.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the door and say to yourself, point of beginning, because you start at the door. And if you were to measure how big your room is, you would go to one corner of the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and you would go forward, whichever direction, east, west, north, south. You would go to the next corner of the wall, and then you would go to the other corner, but then you're ending up going back where? To the door.
Okay.
Yes. So meets and bounds has a point of beginning, and that's also where you end, the door.
Okay. So you start and end, kind of like, yeah, you come in the door, you leave out the door. Okay.
Yep. And then, so that's meets and bounds. The other thing too is what? How will you know where to stop, right? So you know to stop, if you're measuring the room, you know to stop at the corner of the 2 walls where they meet, But
Mm-hmm.
here picture that you're trying to measure a piece of land, so you're going to use what is known as monuments. Monuments are the ones that are going to tell you stop. This is where you stop. Now turn right. Go on. This is where you stop. Now turn left. This is where you stop. So your markers are known as monuments. So this is where you have the example of you start here at the corner of these 2 roads. You go north, your marker, your monument is a tree. You go east, your marker is a rock. You're going to follow the river down to somewhere at the end of this river, and then you go back where you started.
Okay.
So all these are monuments.
Gotcha. Okay.
Over time, people might chop down the tree. The river might dry up. So we have what is known as benchmarks.
Okay.
So when you see a benchmark, that is a type of a monument, only that it is more permanent. Why? Because the US Corps of Engineers went across the country, and they have installed benchmarks, and they look like this. You might not have paid attention to them, but they're all over. And this this is where the surveyor is going to be knowing, this is my monument. How far do I need to go, and where do I need to stop?
And so it's still a stopping point.
Yes.
So it still starts at the beginning, and then when they survey the land, they see this, and they know, okay, this is a monument. This is it's a monument, but it's called a benchmark because it's a permanent. Like it won't ever move. Whereas like what you showing me, it would be a monument if it was like a McDonald's, let's say.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that's the story of of meets and bounds. So in review, meets and bounds has a point of beginning. Meets and bounds is going to use monuments and also benchmarks.
Okay.
And the third note, probably, which was the first one, is what? It's the oldest method. It existed even before people started migrating here.
Okay.
Then we go to the second method, which is a rectangular survey. The rectangular or government survey, this is the one that came about with sectioning of properties into rectangles.
Okay.
So if you're ever flying and you're going Midwest, like right now I'm in Texas, when I'm flying and I look out of the plane window, you will see almost like land is in rectangles from up above. That's what
Okay.
we visualize in here. So this is the one that's going to have the principal meridian. This is where I'm going to kind of draw. The principal meridian is going north-south. And then the baseline is normally going across. So the main lines are principal meridian and baselines. These are all imaginary lines.
Okay.
They have principal meridian and baseline.
Okay.
And then to the right or to the left of the baseline, you will have range lines, these lines. So they're going perpendicular to the principal meridian.
The principal. Okay. Okay.
From one from one range line to another is 6 miles.
Okay.
And then, similar, you have lines going across parallel to the baseline. These are known as township lines.
Okay.
And from one township line to the next one is also 6 miles.
So a township a type of rectangular system? Okay.
So township is created when you have 2 range lines and 2 township lines intersecting. This area is a township.
Okay.
So if you were to imagine, I think I do talk about that here. So this is where, no, that's not it.
Because I think in class I think the instructor said Pennsylvania was a township.
It has townships. Yes, it does have townships. Yes. So picture this is kind of what it looks like. You have the principal meridian, you have a baseline, you have the range lines, these lines here that are going along or down, and then you have the township lines, and then this is where you have your township. You know, this square is a township.
Okay.
And then lastly, one township has 36 sections.
Okay.
And these are the sections. Yep. 36 sections. And the last one is what? Schools are in section 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where you'll need to remember your measurements. 1 acre is how many square feet?
640.
No, 1 acre is how many square feet?
Oh, is that 43,640?
Yes.
I think it is.
So 43,560. 43,560. 43,560. Yeah. 43,560. You just sing to yourself that. Yep. 43,560.
Okay, it's 1 acre. Okay.
Yes, 1 acre is 43,560. And then the other thing you might need to know is what? 1 mile is how many feet? 5280.
1 mile.
5280.
Okay. Okay. And then the 640, one square mile.
Yeah, 1 section.
Okay.
So when you are driving a mile tomorrow to work, just say, oh, I just did 5280 feet, and you'll never forget that.
Okay. Yes,
I just did. And then the other one that so 1 mile, 5280 feet, 1 mile, 5280 feet. And
Okay.
then 3 feet in a yard. 3 feet in a yard. 3 feet in a yard.
Okay.
3 feet in a yard.
Okay.
Yep. That would, and then the last one is the what? The lot and block, right? So we were going through this unit quickly. The last one is the lot and block, which that one is a plat. So the lot and block, always attach it to a plat. This is where when a subdivision, like where you live, when the builder wanted to put up those houses, they had to map everything out, where the roads are going to be, are they going to need schools? That's all we're talking about.
Okay.
That's it. Hopefully you feel a little bit comfortable with it.
I do. I have a plan now.
Good, 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 good. Please
'Cause when-
share about
Oh,
your story, and yeah, anything that I can do to help. I believe